So for this assignment here, you're still doing the mass-to-mass problems that you did before. These are exactly the same problems, so these are the ones you balanced in the last worksheet. The only difference is the last one is not the same. But other than that, 1 through 9, they are the same, meaning their molar masses are the same as well. So if you don't want to have to solve for those again, you could go to your Google Drive and find this worksheet, the one that says B stoichiometry mole to mass practice. You would go to your Google Drive, drive.google.com, and you would search for that, and you'll find that in your Google Drive with the answers, and then you could just copy them over instead of solving them again. So you do have to still balance the equations, but like I said, you did balance them already. These are the same equations except for the last one. So if you don't want to do that work again, you could go get that out of your Drive. These molar masses are going to be the same as well as what you solved for before, so save yourself some time and open up your Drive and pull those numbers out. Alright, so now this is a mass-to-mass problem, so we are starting with mass of a starting compound and looking for mass of another compound, and so that's going to take us 3 steps to get there. So we're going to start with 13.5 grams of nitrogen gas. So I'm going to do this here. So 13.5 grams of nitrogen gas, which is N2. Then you do your first division bar. Put your grams of N2 on the bottom, and then the grams always goes with 1 mole of the same compound. The mass you can get right here, so N2's mass is 28.02. Then second division bar, always take the unit off the top and move it to the bottom, so this will be moles of N2. And then what the compound they asked you for is your top compound. So they asked you for grams of ammonia, but I can't go to grams yet, but I can go to moles of ammonia. And down here it reminds you that ammonia is NH3. So this would be moles of NH3. You always have to go through moles, even though that's not what I want as my final unit. That is where I need to go first. I need to go into moles, and I use my balanced equation as that bridge. To get these numbers here, I go to the balanced equation. So in front of the N2 there is a 1, and in front of the NH3 there is a 2. So this is going to be 1, and this is going to be 2. Last division bar, take your top unit and move it to the bottom, moles of NH3. And then your final third division bar here is going to end with grams of NH3 because that is what they asked you for as your final unit. When grams and moles are together, this mole is 1. Grams comes from the periodic table, so it's right here, 17.04. 17.04. And then we solve. So I'm going to get my calculator. I'm going to put in 13.5 divided by 28.02. I'm also multiplying by the top, but I'm not going to do that because that's multiplying by 1, which comes out to the same thing. So that is my first division bar. So then my second division bar, I'm going to multiply by 2 and divide by 1. So multiply by 2 and then divide by 1, but that'll give me the same thing. And then in my third division bar, I'm going to multiply by 17.04 and divide by 1. So multiply by 17.04 and divide by 1, but that'll give me the same answer. And this gives me 16.42, let's say. So you're always going to round to 2 numbers after the decimal, but if there's a bigger number after it, 5 or greater, you have to round that forward. So this will be 16.42. Alright, now for units, just to check, your diagonal unit should always be the same, and they are, so they cancel each other, they're gone. Diagonal units here are the same, those cancel. Diagonal units here are the same, those cancel. If your diagonal units are not the same, you did not set your problem up correctly. That leaves me with the final unit on top, which is grams of NH3. Alright, now that I've done that, let's go fill in the assignment page here. So I start with 13.5 grams of N2. So this should be 13.5 grams of N2. Then on to the next one, I should have 28.02 grams of N2 on the bottom. 28.02 grams of N2 on the bottom. and that is paired with 1 mole of N2 on the top. Then on the next division bar, I should have 1 mole of N2 on the bottom. And then on the top, it should be 2 moles of NH3. Then on to the next division bar, on the bottom, I should have 1 mole of NH3. And then on the top, I should have 17.04 grams of NH3. Alright, now then I solved and I got 16.42. And then the unit was grams of NH3. Alright, and now everything is green there, so I am done with that problem. Alright, so I'll do one more here. Again, you've already balanced these equations, you've already written out the osmolar mass, you just need to look at your other assignment that's in your Google Drive and just look for B stoichiometry and it'll pop up. Alright, so then I want to start by balancing this equation. I'm going to put a 3 here, and a 2 there, and a 3 here, and CrSO4 3, put a 1 there. Alright, so then molar masses, you can get them from the previous worksheet, like I said, if you don't want to have to do those all over again. Okay, so then let's do the problem. What mass of calcium sulfate, and down here it tells you calcium sulfate is CaSO4, would be produced from the reaction of 14.7 grams of calcium nitrate with excess chromium 3 sulfate? Remember, excess, I don't need this as part of the math problem, but it's just there to tell you that, like, this isn't going to stop my reaction. I've got enough of it, don't worry about it. So I'm going from mass of calcium nitrate into mass of calcium sulfate. So let's start by writing what we have. So let's do this here. So we have 14.7 grams of CaNO3 2. Okay. And then we're going to be writing this actually a couple times, so to save myself a little bit of time, I am going to just copy this. Copy, paste. We'll just put some CaNO3s up here. Alright, just save myself some time later. Alright, so draw the division bar. Take your starting unit and put it on the bottom, which is going to be grams of the CaNO3. So I'm going to grab that again and put that here. And then on the top, I'm also going to have CaNO3, because whenever you have grams, the units match. They should be the same on top and on the bottom. And I'm actually going to copy one more, because I'm going to need one more, and put that there. Okay, so then on the top here, I'm going to have moles. Gotta go to moles when I start with grams. When grams is with moles, this mole is always 1. This grams always comes from the periodic table in the molar mass. CaNO3 2 I know is 164.10. So 164.10. Next division bar. So I'm going to take my starting unit, which is on the top, the moles of CaNO3, and I'm going to put that on the bottom. So this should be moles, MOL of CaNO3, and this is going to go with moles of the other compound that what they want me to transition into. And so if I go back to the question, the other compound was calcium sulfate, which is CaSO4. So I'm going to do moles of calcium sulfate, which is CaSO4. Alright, now I have moles over moles. That's when I go to the equation, and so the NO3 too has a 3 in front of it, and the CaSO4 also has a 3 in front of it. So both of those are going to be 3, top and bottom, and then a third division bar. I'm going to take my top unit here, and I'm just going to copy that. And so moles of CaSO4, copy, paste, bring that down here. And then on the top, it's going to be grams of CaSO4. So grams CaSO4. Alright, when grams is with moles, then that mole is always 1. That's something that students frequently mess up on, so be careful about that. This mole, when it's with grams, is always 1. This is the mass from the periodic table, which is 136.14. 136.14. And then I take my calculator, start by putting in 14.7, which is my starting value, and then I'm going to divide by 164.10. And then I'm going to go to the middle division bar, which is times 3 divided by 3. Now I can do that, like that's not a big deal. Times 3 divided by 3, but the answer ends up with the same. So you could just assume this is just like multiplying by 1. Times 3 divided by 3 gives you the same answer. And then I'm going to multiply by 136.14 and divide by 1. So times 136.14 and then divide by 1, but that's going to give me the same answer. So here's a little rounding difficulty here. I have 195. Now I need to round to just these two numbers after the decimal, so like cut it off here. But if the number you're dropping is greater than or equal to 5, that has to round that up. Now this is a 9, and when you round a 9 up, it rounds to 10, so that's also going to round the one in front of it. So if you ever run into the situation where it's a 9 being round up, it's actually going to round multiple numbers. So this actually is going to be 12.20 when you enter that into the online program. Okay, so let's go back and do that. So I start with my starting unit, which is 14.7 grams of CaNO3, and then 164.10 grams of CaNO3 goes on the bottom. And then on the top, I have moles of CaNO3, 1 mole of CaNO3. And then the next division bar, I have 3 moles of CaSO4 on top and 3 moles of CaNO3 too on the bottom. 3 moles of CaSO4 on the top and 3 moles of CaNO3 too on the bottom. The next division bar, I have 136.14 grams of CaSO4 on the top. 136.1 grams of CaSO4 on the top, and then I have 1 mole of CaSO4. Grams and moles always go together. This mole is always 1. These should always be the same compound, CaSO4, CaSO4. And then this says 136.15. I think that's just a typo on their part. It's 136.14. I'll probably change that, so by the time you do your worksheet, that's not what it's going to say. And then we got the answer of 12.20. So let's type that in here, 12.20. And then the last thing here is the unit, so it's grams of CaSO4, because that is the end of your division bar here on the top, and it's also what they asked you for, mass of calcium sulfate. So this would be grams of CaSO4. Alright, that's how you do those problems, just like before. Type it in until everything turns green, and it's good grams to grams practice for you.